first. So my name is Srikanth Gurunathan. I've been working with a company called Infintus Innovation. I'm a co-founder and CTO of Infintus. So we brand ourselves as Intelligententerprise.ai, which is our data platform, which is what we have been developing last couple of years. I've worked in the industry almost last 18 years and worked in different domains. I've worked in telecom, worked in insurance, and worked in media. Of course, I have also worked in one of the large Indian government transformation project. I played as a chief architect and transformed a very large project for Indian government. And I've also led IT services, almost 300 people team I managed and across different geography. So where, in one of the large corporate in India, I was working in that. And of course, most of my experience, I've been working as a software, product development company, pretty much. Almost 12 years working in the software development products. And started with a CRM, which was my first product, you can say, which we started way back 99, which was the period where CRM was a good, one of the attractive product. So we started that. So after that, of course, I've developed almost 4 or 5 different products, and now we've been working on the data platform. So today what I thought, of course, rather, talking about the process and how you should do, what you should do. So I thought I'll talk about a little bit what's our experience, what's our learning in developing analytics product, and where we started and what are all the problems that we have faced and what actions we have taken, which may result into, analytics development lifecycle, which is what we're trying to build as well. So this is our first learnings, the learning, it started, of course, when we, as a startup, we started, meeting many of the executives in India as well as in US. We based out of Pune. So we started, meeting many executives in Mumbai in various industry, banking, insurance, healthcare. And I've traveled to US and we met, many of the executives. When we start talking, we are an analytics company. We can, solve many of your problems. We can, help you to do better business. The first question comes from them, we know better than you, our business, right? That's the first answer they say. And the second, they talk about, okay, so analytics, what is that problem that you're going to solve? Do you have any defined problem? And then we say, okay, you know your problem. Can you describe, what you faced yesterday, or what you faced today? So all we started, talking this. And of course, end of the day, some of known connects may give 1 or 2 stuff for a month. You try to solve, and which may not be really their bigger problem, right? He just tries to, face value, give some project for a month, and we try to solve. Then we understand this is not adding any value to the organization. That was our first learning. We looked and we thought, when we developed software where we became a successful product development company in the past, we could see, very good requirement gathering, right? Which is what a step we call in the software development cycle. It's like a requirement elicitation process we call, right? The industry evolved and they have created a lot of process. Now we were struggling, how do we capture the need of the customer on analytics space, right? Everybody needs, everybody talks, right? But what is the need? What problem they really wanted to solve? That was, our first question. We were trying to build whether, we can build a model which will help. Obviously, that was our first, learning. We were lacking on that. The second one, of course, it's not that easy. So many people were talking about, data scientists. And in industry, a lot of jargons have, evolved and came. Today we talk data, analysts, data scientists. And there are people talk to me, non-IT guys. They talk data astrologers, who works on, prediction. They talk. So many, jargons have evolved. And of course, we don't know the real domain. When we had, when I was working in the large corporate, I was heading insurance, one of the insurance division, where we had 14 large insurance companies we were supporting in US. And when we were talking to one of the insurance company, their need was analytics. Obviously, they were talking, can you make analytics something for us? So then we pulled from other unit, analytics unit. We got a very great data scientist who was very highly paid. And unfortunately, the guy who was available for us that day worked on telecom, right? And it's a life insurance client. What he was talking absolutely doesn't make sense. He was trying to come back, okay, you can create a nice plan, and life insurance creating, in American life insurance, creating a new product or plan, it's a very large cycle. You need to get approval, and it's a large thing. So it was completely, irrelevant what he was talking to the client. So that's our, bigger learning. We felt, the guy who doesn't have the domain knowledge can't help. Of course, then we look the guy who was working as a BA, he's not able to think what problem he can solve, or what problem he can talk on the analytics domain, which was, other learning we had. And then other thing we learned, most of the data scientists, when we get, they all talk about what data you have. Can you show us what data you have? Which is nothing but, what database you have basically. Have you got a customer database? Can you show me all your customer attributes? What all information you're capturing? I'll try to, drill down into that and see how much of that, useful for us and what problem we can identify or what problem we can solve. That was the big thing people were talking. But most of them failed to understand, there is a digital contents. Apart from, the data, which is apart from the database, there are tons of emails, there is a tons of images, files, so many documents which they don't take into account at all because that's not a data, right? That's basically, it's not a structured data. So that was never been, considered by the data scientists. That was our other learning. And the other thing, we were looking the tools choice when we were talking to the customer. Most of them, heard TensorFlow. Can you use TensorFlow? When we talk, some of the insurance companies in Silicon Valley, they ask, okay, we heard H2O. Can you use, H2O, which brings, a lot of domain-specific framework. Will it be helpful? It's all, word of mouth and popularity. People were just talking, can we use these tools? And none of them were, understanding really why we need that. In our context, does it help us? Will it anyway, change our business? So that was other thing, we never, when we also obviously talking all this stuff, and that's what our bigger learning, the choice of tool, the people were not making the right way, which, the problem they have got is different, the choice of tool was different. And then, when we talk about the budgeting, when the guy, we were talking to some of the CIO of insurance companies, when they ask what is the budget, and then it goes to the finance, then finance says what is the outcome that you're going to bring. Okay, let's say we budget for 1 million. Will it increase the revenue, or what is that it's going to bring? And the data scientist guy says, I have to first look the data, right? Unless I look the data, I don't know what the outcome will come. And it's based on your data, the outcome will change. Based on the value, whatever the information that you have captured, the outcome may change. So we will never be able to, give a firm, process which we normally do in software engineering, which we'll never be able to do that. So that was our first learning, We move on to the... So what we thought, we came up with some of our own, quiz. We started asking ourselves. Probably, I thought I will bring key stuff here and ask most of you. So the first question is here, how much structured and unstructured data do I have in my organization? So let me explain what I meant structured. The structured is a database, right? You have got a customer database, you have got a marketing analytics database, or you have got your data warehouse. So which is what the structured we meant. The unstructured, which is pretty much files, right? Files, when I say files, it could be a PDF document, or it could be images. Let's say an insurance company, it may be a policy document, it may be your address proof. It could be industry to industry. There is a huge amount of unstructured content. So I'll probably, if you can rise, how many of you think 25:75 ratio? Right, that looks almost 40%. And how many of you think, 50-50? Yeah, maybe 10-15%. So the remaining comes probably, mostly people think 75 and 25. So what we analyzed, or whatever the customer we have found, we found, the most of the time the first one was true. Though people say we have data, and which is in the, maybe they use 6 different systems. The accounting uses a system, and the sales people uses a different system, and the core admin people use different system, which has got 5-6 system, or it may be separated into 15 different databases in a large organization. But what we found, there is a terabytes of files, the unstructured information. Most of the time, it may be even 25%. If you look at the data, when you talk to the IT guy, what's your database that you have and what you have, that's content of this, which was much lower. So our finding was that 25:75 was mostly fixing. So we started obviously asking this first question. And the second one, when we look the data analytics, of course in India, if you look, most of the people talk about Hadoop, right, which was there like 3 years back. Everybody was talking big data, which is Hadoop, and offline, you do most of the stuff. But the reality is, we started asking the people how much time it takes. Let's say we asked some of the C-level people, if you wanted to know which are all the states in India, giving you more revenue in the last 1 month, what do? They will have to ask their IT guy or their, business guy, who as the IT guy brings that. It may take, a couple of days to bring that. And of course, if it was already designed data warehouse report, the next morning you may get it. Right? That was the, scenario. And then, we were giving the 3 choices. The first thing, of course, we said real time. The second one, less than 3 days. And third one, greater than 3 days. So what's your guess? Let me ask. The first, how many of you think it's real time in your organization? None? How many of you think it's less than 3 days you could get from your website and everything? It's great. 30% probably. And how many of you think it will be more than 3 days, which is quarterly report, or it comes, right? The remaining people. So what we realized is it has to be real time, right? The most of the time, if the decision makers need the data, it has to be real time. So the answer, what the expectation was real time, but what happens is it's more than 3 days, which is what the real scenario, but the expectation of the business was real time. If we get real time, it's useful. Right, it's a big question. So, one of the trend we found, surprisingly in India, the large corporates engage a lot of startups. When I say a lot, it may be 10 to 15 minimum startups, the corporates are engaging. And the reason when we started talking to our known executives, the startups brings ideas, right, to them, and what problem they have, or what problem they can solve, or what they could do better, which is what they're expecting from the startup. So the end of the day, how many of them successful? We started, questioning, how much time it takes to identify a business case by a startup, right? The startup or your own people, it could be how much time it takes to identify a business case and build the business case. The next step, okay? You identified and you build the business case, and to do that, just one business case, how many vendors you start, engaging? The problem could be one, when Aadhaar was introduced, most of the company was talking KYC, right? There are smaller companies which they do the video recording, where they can do the face recognition and your location, various things they do. So when the KYC was started, people, just for KYC, they were engaging many of the startups who can, bring better ideas, who can do that. So when we asked them, most of the time the answer was, it takes 3 months, because the startup to understand the business, they don't know the business, what do you do to understand the business, and next they understand your ecosystem. Once they understand, they need some information from your IT or your internal, which takes longer, right? Which is what, it goes on probably, a couple of weeks to get certain information for the startup from the organization. So more than 3 months they take, and the outcome is obviously, either the business says, now that's not a valid scenario, ignore that, you look that, or fire the company, right? Look up somebody else who can bring good ideas. So the answer was, we found mostly the third, which was, the more than 3 months, and many of the startups, which is what they have been engaging. And the last one, of course, we were also talking, right, in the beginning of almost 1.5 years back, we were also started talking about AI, ML. Everybody was asking, okay, what you are doing in AI, what you can do in machine learning for us, many of those. we started asking, and the answer started flowing from, bottom. When you go first meeting, they say, yeah, we know pretty much. We've been working with, many other organizations, and internally we have a large team who works, in AI and ML, and we know what we are doing. We know well. Then, go after a week and continue to talk to them. Then it goes, yeah, we know more fairly well in this technology, but not really in this area. The reality comes, at the first. At the end, it comes just after a month. Honestly, we don't know anything and what to do using AI. We all understand, everybody talks about AI and ML, but obviously, we don't know what to do. That's the, the final answer we get. The point, I wanted to make here, of course, we all agree. It's a fourth year here in Cypher, and we all understand the data is, important. There is a philosophy goes, the data is gold. There is a company I was looking, they talk, data decides destiny, that's what they put. There's a company I've seen, they talk the next oil is data. So there is so many, philosophy comes of data analytics. What comes reality, what comes, which helps for the business, it's very less, which is what in the real world we see. And of course, it may be some bigger organization, which is Google, Facebook, some of the bigger organization doing, or bigger corporates doing, but they take about, 2 years to achieve something small, which may be relevant or not relevant after a certain time. The second thing, of course, everybody talks about, data strategy. And they talk, we're trying to, create all the data together, which is what we have taken a new data warehouse platform, and we have taken a great tool which we can visualize the data. So the business can connect to the data now. They can straight away see, a lot of such, they talk about this, which is what we understand. But when data analytics comes, most of the companies, what they do is they work on their ETL, which is what the tool that's being used for data warehousing, right? When we go and ask, where is your data? Should I access your customer database or should I access your accounting? Which one? The answer is, go and look our data warehousing system, which has got everything. So how data warehousing system is built, we have got a ETL, and we pull the data from different databases overnight, or maybe, periodically we pull the data and we get it. So that's how, most of the company works today. On top of basically data warehouse system, they're building the analytics. The other one, the priorities. When we talk to the executives, the priorities, obviously they say analytics is priority, right? Then they talk about, AL is priority, ML is priority. And end of the day, these all, just a noise they make, and there is nothing outcome comes, which is what our experience. So at least we did, 5 months of this exercise or learning when we started. Of course, we had a past experience of, working with analytics. So what we started is, building one learning out of all this stuff we came back is, we have to create a foundation platform, right? Which will basically, can be used by the business, and where, they can obviously do analytics. That's what we thought. So the foundation platform, we started with the 3 ideas. So the idea one, what we said, the foundation platform can, pull the data real time. So what we do today is, when I say real time, of course, the business don't allow you to pull the data from their database, right? They say the online system may get impacted the performance, you can't access the real time. So we found, every database has its own logs, right, where the huge informations are lying there, which is where, the entire, your data is lying in the binary form. So we started reading from the binary, in real time. That's one part. And the second, of course, we also looked, apart from the database logs, we can also read from the file system. So which is what we picked as our, second idea. We said, the information is basically structured and unstructured, right? So when I say structured, as I said, it is from database. We read from the logs. And then, we started reading from audio. We started reading from the PDF. We started reading, various stuff. So basically, we created a foundation platform which started doing all these stuff. Okay, the third idea, where we looked. The third idea, of course, this is a technology platform where, it can read and collate your structured data and unstructured data, everything, started collating. Now, who will start creating value out of this data, right? What is the methodology of creating value out of all these data, right? So that's where we started, create apps. We said apps. Probably I'll give you a couple of examples. Today we have got around 60 plus apps we have created for various domain, and most probably end of this year we will cross, 100 plus apps. So I'll give you one of the example for apps. We were talking to in US, this is a property company. So what they do, they manage large number of properties, and of course they lease it to the various people and manage the lease agreement, as well as the check-in, check-out process of the tenants, and see any breakage happened in the company. All those stuff they manage. When we started talking, their first need was they were having 6 people they wanted in offshore. In India mainly, who can look at all these document, lease document and all this stuff and feed into their system. That was the first one, and they said if you can automate, maybe if you think that can be automated somewhere, you try it and automate. So this is what the first requirement came, we spoke to them. So what we created is, we started looking how do we make use of our platform and how do we make use of the analytics, the concept of, there is a huge information lying in lease document. If you look in US lease document, which has got, 20, 25 pages of the document. Then if you look at the checkout, when somebody stayed in a house, when he checks out, which has got what are all the, the stuff he has broken and what was earlier agreed, all the utensils, everything will be listed in the document as well. So we started looking various documents which is related to them, and then we started reading the document because we had of course the unstructured way of reading. We started reading the document, then we started applying the context on the document. So when I say context, it's mainly the business basically can see. When we read all the documents, the business sees the structured information. We extracted around 39 to 45 different elements out of the document. So when I say elements, automatically system shows you he is the leasee, this is the leaser, this is the address, the start date of this contract is this, and the contract value is this. So all this we started using NLP. We started reading all this stuff and it created a structured information. Now the business guy who manages the property, their business guy, he was able to, analyze all these stuff. And end of the analysis, he found there is a, plumbing company which was supporting for them, fixing all the plumbing related stuff. So most of their customers, when they leave, the taps has a leakage, which is what they found. Then, they decided to replace the plumbing company, which was not at all the role of ours. Of course, we can't even, imagine there could be something like this. All we gave to them was, a platform where they could extract and where they can, load any of the data, where they can see it and create a value out of this. So similar, we started looking, of course, a lot of marketing companies, who talks about competitor analysis, right? So the competitor analysis, if you look, every company published their yearly report, quarterly report, which is in PDF or Excel or in website, in their web page itself, it's available, which are huge information, and nobody is utilizing all those information. For example, for an insurance company, we just, started reading all the insurance company across India from their website, whatever the public information they have published, and we have read that, and the app, started analyzing. So end of the day, we derived our own methodology. What we said, apps are nothing but it's list of use cases. Who can create the use cases? Engineers never be able to create a use cases. Engineers can extract the data. Use cases has to be created by the business. So all we try to do, let's create the data and give it in a form that business can understand all the data in a structure or unstructured and do it. And of course, they can imagine and create various visuals and various analytics which they can perform. So that's how we came up with the methodology creating apps. Okay, so the first part, what I was talking about, the use case identification. Now, when we started, when we decided, okay, we will create apps, when we go and talk to the company, okay, so you have to create apps, which is when we talk to them, what is the use case we need to talk, right? How do we arrive the use case? And today the use cases are, described in vision level, right? Everybody says, I want a good customer experience. I want, my website visitors to be, coming more. And people say, I wanted to obviously, get the revenue leakage sorted out. Everybody has their vision. And it was never translated into, goals. What you wanted to do, okay? If that's what your vision, increasing your customer experience. What all you can do, what all you can't do. Because, which we cannot imagine what you can do in your business. You have to tell what all is possible, feasible for you to do it, and what, you can't do it. So that's what we started, creating goals. Then we started, we never played in these things, the data. We never looked what data needed or what is that, how it will be achieved. We never put our thought in anything in these steps, the data. The third step, obviously, is, okay, if this is the goal, then these are all use cases can be achieved, right? The goal was, reading, as I said, the lease document, which was the goal. But what we achieved was numerous use cases out of that goal. Once you read the lease document, of course, you have various information, and you can do various things. So we were able to come up with the different apps or different use cases. And then we obviously validated with them, this is what we intend to do it. Obviously, we do this exercise, in a week and 10 days of time. We start, do this exercise and talk to them, this is what we planning to do. Then one more, in all this process, we found when we talk this use cases and validations, business users never be able to visualize what they will get, how it will look. When we say, oh, we will read lease document, what do you mean you read lease document, right? They never understood what is that. So we started, creating a platform which can generate huge number of mock data, right? And based on the mock data, then the visuals are created, which they can see themselves, okay, this is what I'm going to see. If this is what I can see, then can I make a business actions? Can I change my business? Let's say, we were trying to do for an insurance company. So, it's the insurance company is in India where they were a non-life insurance company. And when we were talking to them, we understood they don't sell certain areas, right? When I say they don't sell certain areas, the bike insurance, car insurance, they don't sell in certain part of India. So we started, looking the data. There were obviously no data coming out of that. Then we can't, predict, go and say, why not there is a huge market, because we see our competitor are doing there and they are making huge money, and you can do. One way of, talking about that. So obviously we didn't want to do that. So what we said, there is a competitor analysis app, right? You can see what they are doing. And why you are not selling in that state. And obviously they made a clear choice because the claims were high, so they decided we will not sell in this, certain bike or certain car we will not insure, because, the Scorpio was the one they decided they will not insure. In mainly, MP and Bihar, they said we will not insure, where a lot of misuse was happening. So that was, their earlier claim analysis they have got. So if we have done, ourselves the analysis, obviously we would have gone to them and, recommended, why don't you sell, this car insurance and life insurance in these states. So instead what we said, these are all visual. Now you make a decision. Out of this, what actions you can change, what action you can perform. So this is one of the exercise for every industry we started doing. Similar we started for healthcare, reading certain medical report, we started reading and giving that report. Obviously we don't understand many of the jargons in that, which the healthcare industry, they can understand. And now they started able to create the, list of use cases. So what we also did to do that, of course, we were talking a lot about hiring, right? So we found, hiring data scientists was not, good choice for us. That was our decision, because we found the market what we get data scientists He's specific to a domain, maybe his experience, and he is specific to probably, particular knowing the R or Python and knowing some set of, structure, which is what he wanted. So we decided we will not do that part, right? So we started hiring business guy. For example, healthcare, we started, looking at doctor who was having the, using a good system as well, already using a healthcare system, a good doctor who can come up with various use cases. Similar, insurance, we hired people from insurance industry who is in the operation, who is in the new business side of insurance, who is in the claims of insurance. We started hiring them, so they probably, start creating various apps. So that's the next thing we did it. Okay, so after all this, of course, now we got a product and we started, deploying. Of course, this is keep evolving. We start, keep doing this. Obviously, we didn't make any of this life cycle or any of this process in the beginning. We did our own way. Then later we realized by doing all these steps or various ways, you may get better, result. So the first thing, we broadly classified engineers and scientists, right? The science, which is what we classify. The science are nothing but the data scientists who knows the algorithms, right? So that's what we said. So the engineers basically, trying to get the data, right? Then the scientists who can apply the algorithm on the data. So what we said, let's not ask the scientists to try to write R code, Python code, all those stuff. We will give them a framework. Let the engineers decide from where to pull the data, what kind of data, all this stuff. So we tried to bring these two together, and that was the first step we did it. And the second, of course, once the requirement was decided, once the use case is decided, we started streaming the data, which, as I said, we real-time stream the data, and obviously we gave a the user interface for the users to configure mainly what kind of input they can supply in a use case and what kind of output they want to see, which is what they configure here. And then it goes to production. That's the life cycle we started doing it. And of course, we also realize in all this process we have to work on the context-based analysis. It's not just independent of data you're looking, analyzing, it helps. So when I say context-based, it's mainly it's context-based. It's mainly if a guy, let's say an Indian guy, 15-year-old guy is 20 kg, a boy, which may be different if you look in Australia, a boy, 15-year-old boy, having 20 kg, which you need to really analyze, right, differently. So we started doing the context analysis, which purely we apply NLP for this, and we started doing. So these are all the three things we felt it's a success, broad success for us. Okay, the final question, which obviously after all this we're doing, what came to our mind, okay. So how many of us, wish to have the information the way today you Google? Let's say I want to see now what is the GDP of Estonia. I just go on Google, right, which displays. And what is the, the population of, India in 2013, I can see. And how do I reach, red is and blue from particular area? You get all this stuff. But is that so easy for us to get information within our organization? Which never been, right? If a business guy wanted to see certain thing, is it the same way if he can Google? Can he get that? Today that's not possible. This can be possible only by, analytics, obviously by NLP, AI, ML, whatever, you apply, you can get it. So that's what, leads to our vision. We started, which we create a Google for Enterprise, and which is what we're working on. So, yeah, so that's, I just, wanted to emphasize, of course, I thought, I'll bring a nice model, which is software engineering process model I created, I can bring analytics engineering model. I wasn't sure, whether is this the proven model which going to work, right? So what I did is basically, our experience and our learning, whatever we have faced, that's what I brought. And we are also planning to do, obviously, release in 3 months' time. What are the estimation technique that we are following to come up, when we talk to the sales, when sales guys go and talk to the company, how they are talking, what is that, template that he carries, what he tries to ask, what he tries to fill, how the engineering team is coming up back with the estimation of the effort, how we are deriving the cost for a particular thing, which is what we're trying to come back. So I recommend, if you can share your ideas, probably we're planning to publish in 3 months' time to the entire community, which will be, free. We're not, going to charge for that. And that will obviously, talk about our experience, what made for us success. That's what it will bring.